Cut sugar, cut sugar, cut sugar. Uh, Hello. This link is not linked where I need it.
Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is currently 12:08 p.m. on Sunday, January 11th, 2026. We are in the second week of this year, moving into the third, or moving from the second into the third, depending on your point of view and your time zone. We have experienced change. And change is good. Multiple things, lots of stuff. Multiple things that must be discussed. I am of the opinion that the extremes are going to start accelerating very quickly this year. Especially when it comes to the kind of energy that I expect to be what underlines my content. To put it on one specific thing would be regressive of me, so I'm not going to do that. There's some information I can't even necessarily speak on right now, because I can't even put a word to it, so we're not going to do that. Instead, what I will say is as simple as this. This year will be my year. Is my year. Manifesting. Regardless of what happens, and regardless of whatever setbacks. Lots of things we learned in 2025 are going to get applied in 2026 and already have been. That being said, later on today, at 4 p.m., we will be joined by Bloomer, who is a, as I've been corrected, former dev mod that was present for the WIC debate on the 6th, who will be joining us for a performance improvement plan to help tame the Carl. and ensure that I know how best to move forward in situations like that again. Didn't do all that best, to be quite serious, despite multiple things that have been discussed and said. I saw you, struggler. Despite what was shown and said, despite my base argument winning out and demonstrating and proving myself from my opening as true, that does not mean that I did the best in the debate. That does not mean that whatsoever. So, that is why I put the content together. It was already in the talks after the material and content was happening. There are aggrandized parties that feel one type of way about this or another. I put no energy into the discussion and argumentation about that. Good debate, bad debate, being, what's the nice way to phrase it? Being struggle sessioned by annoying dirtbag leftists that are using sock dem in their titles as a replacement for being antagonistic, also ran bullies. It is what it is. This is not new to us. In one ear, out the other. Bad debate, good debate. Our job is to analyze the performance, learn from it, and push forward. Can't harbor on any more than that. So, those parties that came by and said, Carl, what do you think about this? 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 Why didn't you talk about this? Please, write it down, come in at 4 p.m., go into the audience, and then stand by to be pulled in as a speaker. Otherwise, we can't talk about it. Because then that would make me supposedly ranting about it endlessly. Not good look. Especially when people are lacking context. Besides that, I joined the Second Win Private League for Path of Exile 2. I'm infinitely sad inside because my time was used unfairly against me before the event even started. So I ended up, I think I was late by like an hour and something. I was awake before when this league went live, but at that point, people had already hit level 15, and with that level 15 deficit, that grew into the enormous league that has now left almost everyone behind. So, $1,000 bounty that I was eyeing, couldn't reach for. Couldn't do any of the other follow-up ones. Couldn't reach for that too. But what it's worth, if you were a person that was experiencing exile and was feeling like the league was bad, you definitely needed to play this league either in isolation or in like SSF because the economy was kind of fucking ruined by the patch that they put out to the temples. First of all, they never showed us the potential of what the temples could bring. Then people got mad about the content, so they kept trying to create ways of how can I build a temple that has infinite money and infinite content without being able to basically watch my whole thing go poof. Then when they discovered the ulterior strat and motive and all the other techniques that led to the explosive dumpstering of the economy, even sooner than before, they put out multiple patches that then affected directly the way that the actual temples functioned and worked. Then people got angry about the fact that one of those changes basically said your temple no longer exists. So if you were not one of the people who had a legacy temple that was already built up ahead of time, and you couldn't snake your temple the way that you wanted to, then you lost infinite profit, while all the other people profited, which then made multiple people rage quit out of the league. Because what's the point of a trade economy where everything has been destroyed in its actual value and your money basically amounts to shit because somebody else is printing 200, 300, 400, 500 div, and the collective player base is all ruining the economy the second you breathe. This then led to the creation of the Second Wind Private League by Alcohol, Talkative Try, Dead Rabbit, and a couple of other people, to where it has now been, at now current peak capacity, 40k players, I believe, fully. Something that I think is good for people like Talkative Try, especially in the player bases community, because the amount of times I have watched people come to him and tell him, you are no one of irrelevancy, you don't deserve any of the attention that you get, any of the praise you get, who you even think you are. I think this demonstrates that when people really come together and they actually service each other, that it shows what actual community fucking looks like. Since a lot of people have seemingly forgotten that the community is actually the people you talk to, not the scenes that you're included into. Same thing here with my audience. Same thing here with any audience I cross over with. Be that as it may, whether you be a gamer or you be a political theorizer, at the end of the day, the only thing I have left to say is that I am not a political content creator. My channel is not a political one. I am a social one. I look at social shit. I look at up-and-coming stuff. If you want someone to tell you about the ethics of how to give your money to Crimea, Crimea fucking river. Not my bag. Now, that being said, first caller!
Hello.
Hello, Buster. I can do.
I'm fine. I was going to ask you, but since you've mentioned that you're not a political streamer, I'm not sure if this question really applies.
Ask
The
it
question
anyways.
applies to.
Ask it anyways.
All right, so because I've been observing what's happening in Minneapolis for now, it's going to be a week ever since the Somali fraud been happening, and now it has escalated to the point where they've drove in weirdos and just straight up, what you would call them, provocateurs, I guess, activists, for certain. And you look at all those people acting the way. Now we have the shooting and escalation even further. We now have Chaz 2.0, which is just, at this point, it's just, what are you even doing? And I was thinking to myself, what can you possibly do about all of those useful idiots? Because that's what they are. They're useful idiots. They have been groomed, they have been taught throughout all those 2 decades of terrible schooling, and this is the end result of it. It's just, I was wondering if there's any sorts of way you can deprogram those people, because or those people who have those gender studies that are effectively a glorified poster on the wall. Like, not you can even extend this to not only activists who are boots on the ground, you know, tossing not flamethrowers, but flame bottles at the police and what have you. You can also extend us to those people who are influencers into like entertainment, like video games, TV shows, right? Because they are also filled to brim with those types of people. Like, you have all those people, even if we push them away from the industry, which I think we are currently doing it, can you like teach them to not do it or what? Because I don't think you can do that even. So you have all those potential activists who will never learn because they reject the reality. I guess I'm overextending the question. What do you do with them?
I am a healthy believer in the lesson of the Darwin Award. And I believe, just as is on the thumbnail of today's Yap-In, that one should be forced to fuck around and find out. Period. The lesson is you're going to act civil, and if you don't, that's what happens. Unfortunately. That is not me glorifying the death of the kamikaze Karen. That is not me saying that Lesbola has a point. That is me telling you, do not go across state lines. Funny hearing that one again. Do not go across state lines to a state that's 1.5 states away from yours and attempt to interrupt the officers doing lawful duties. This should go without saying, but apparently it must be said. Because they're not going to herald your name. There have been multiple examples of this happening on the timeline, but as we are learning, as we continue to get more information, we now have more images, more angles, and the body cam footage that came from the ICE officer that gave the order to stop, that gave the shot, and the one that was being ran over. Don't make your children have to go without having their mother because you want to go involve yourself in political praxis. For people that will not even say rest in power for you, because rest in power, air quote, is only belonging to black martyrs and black heroes. It's not worth it. She's being Aaron Bushnelled. So the only way to really teach this lesson is that they have to see that they won't support them. Because they only care about what you've done for them recently and lately. And even though that you're a useful idiot for them, you're going to be useful up until the point you stop breathing. And then they're going to forget you and move on. Because they want a martyr, but you're the wrong skin color. So I guess one way is fuck around and find out. And the second way is look at what they do to you when they supposedly say that they want heroes. That's your future. If you don't want that to be your future, don't let that be your future. But unfortunately, that was their future. So, if they cannot accept that that's the reality that we're dealing with people who do not respect human life, then at least be somebody who is looking at the strife that's happening on the platform and look and see how the left is cannibalizing themselves, because they cannot bring themselves to admit that it was about doing violence to ICE rather than understanding that there is a problem here and it is not our job to interfere with it as civilians. Telling people to do so otherwise is really some Fed behavior.
You did it. This has been. Yeah, and perhaps I look forward to seeing. Farewell.
I think that's pretty much the open-end understanding of what we can all come away with here. Because the way that I look...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so if I understand correctly, we cannot really deprogram these people because we have already established these people are ideologically captured, and the only way they will be able to learn, quote unquote, is by the very unfortunate and sudden and by their stupidity. Is that what I'm getting at?
There are two kinds of people that are currently engaging in talking activism. There are the people that are going to these events, and they have been told that the best way to service your movement is to effectively become a martyr. And then there are the people who are on the fence who haven't committed fully to this form of praxis. The people that are, as I've always called them, inside boys and girls, they're not going to go out themselves and commit to this action. They're going to watch you risk your life, and they're going to make money on your on the controversy. One second. Okay. For the people that are the at-home inside boys and girls, they don't ever intend on going outside and actually committing to the plan of their behavior. They know that what they believe in is not real. The people who are going out in the streets that have been fully radicalized to the point that they are making bad decisions from this advice from these groups of people, the moment that they decide that the rhetoric is true and they are then committing the violence in the streets, it is already too late. Those individuals can be saved up to a point. The people that are sitting there on broadcast raking in money and donos while bodies drop in the streets, they cannot be changed. But they're not risking their lives in the first place anyways. So, the people that have not committed to the rhetoric, look at how they treat your heroes, basically. Do you want to die for the cause? so that this inside boy and girl can collect the money from your death and then move on to the next thing, to the next bit, to the next content, to the next grift. To the inside boys and girls that have some level of conscience, look at how your ideology treats you like a pundit or a body bag yet to be filled. Do you want to tell your audience that they should commit their life to that? Otherwise, no. They cannot be convinced and changed. And the only lesson that can change, the only thing that would change them there is to be scared straight.
Test your metal.
And if they unfortunately lose their life in the goal of trying to be scared straight, oh well. Because there's nothing we can do at that point. If they end up losing themselves and losing their lives because of that, from that point, oh well, there's nothing we can do about that.
Come get me.
Because they gotta learn sometime.
Who smiles upon your strength.
Well, I guess then it is the point actually having those debates as you had those few days ago to actually engage, and maybe hopefully by you just talking those words, either maybe somebody bystander would be listening to the debate saying, thinking to themselves, well, maybe he has something going on, maybe he's somewhat correct. It's not the point of convincing the person who you'd be talking to, because I think we already established these people do not want to argue in good faith, as they say. It's just for the sake of content and just rage baiting. Again, just for the money, not to convince you otherwise, because they will not be able to be convinced themselves. So it's more of, I'm gonna be using that other person to... Let me rephrase the argument. Not the argument, but the example. So, you should still be talking to the other side, quote-unquote, not really to be convincing that person who will be talking to directly, but because of portraying and putting out the reasonable arguments, somebody from their side will be listening and saying, you know what, maybe there's something to it, because otherwise, why should we even engage in the conversations and dialogues with these, I don't want to say the word grifter because it's been overused as it is, but I would say vultures.
I would say in the purpose of debate, there are some people who probably could be convinced from the other side. You should not throw away the ability to have conversations, because when the talking stops, the shooting starts. What is important, however, is that when there is a person who very clearly does not seem to want to understand what is happening, your goal there is to actually demonstrate what the end goal of their philosophy believes in. So, if we use myself as an example, the goal of that conversation, as I stated, was to see if there was possibility to find common ground. Is it possible? Because this is the one we're talking about, an actual reward versus thing versus effectively the online behavior of gamers. Is it possible that somebody who is effectively a hyper elitist super tourist can see eye to eye with a person who is an actual expert that does the work and job that a person's supposed to do, with doing what effectively would be compared to tracking your carbon footprint when it comes to investing and buying as a consumer in the gamer market, and actually having a finger on the pulse of what's happening in the games industry and what the game industry actually is. That is supposed to be the first goal, and that can easily be done by anyone who wants to just put forth their best foot forward and treat it like it is what it is, which is an opportunity to try to convince them that you can do things better than what we are currently doing. You can do things in a way where you don't actively just behave as though the world must be an unfeeling, uncaring place where you can just absolve yourself of all consequences of your behavior because you feel like that's the case. Unfortunately, if you come away from the event, like I did, in multiple instances where this person's they're just begging to the audience. It's just marring an attention for the audience. They don't seem to care about or actually understand the concepts of the things that they're claiming are a part of their view. They are actively participating in the bad behavior that created the death and degradation of the marketplace as it exists. And they are a part of that problem that poisons the industry and makes it worse. Your job and goal is to show this behavior off for what it is. And show people, this is what they ask for. This is the actual worldview they believe in. Is this what you believe in? Is this the behavior that you support? Is this okay? Because if you have to do it by example, where you have to be the one that brings that behavior out and shows it for what it is, then that's your job to do so. Certainly, you're still speaking to the people in the middle, but you still have the responsibility of yourself to try and do something for your benefit that helps you, rather than just letting people savage you endlessly just cuz. Because one of these outcomes leads to somebody's eyes being opened, and another of these outcomes leads to a person thinking, oh, well, see, I don't know if that person's argument was the best because, well, I looked around the room and I thought that his argument wasn't very persuasive. When you're in a den of fucking vipers that are going to tell you to your face that you're gay and cringe and that you must be wrong. Because for them, this is the content that they came for. What they want is the blood. What they want is the violence. What they want is the separation. What they want is the confusion. It's very easy to tell, if you know what it is that you're actually standing for, what side you come down on. If what you actually want, for example, is you want the game industry to be better, then you're responsible for the way that you choose to behave and act. Therefore, take stock of all the people there who thought it was an acceptable thing to do to attack me for something other than my argument. And take stock of each person and how they built upon each other to do that behavior. Up until and including the part where I was attacked for my status of fatherhood. Is that what you support? No? Alright, you are now one of the deconverted. Congratulations, welcome to the real world. Applying that to real world politics is much harder, because deconverting people requires you to meet them where they are, and sometimes it's not possible to go where they are, because they will actually kill you if you try to talk to them. So, you have to really hedge your bets. Not everybody can be Duke Dennis. Not everybody can do it. So calling a spade and dealing it from where you are, that's about as good as it's gonna get.
Smiles upon your bravery.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's answering my question, yeah. You gotta fight the good fight, I suppose. Is try to save some of those people out of the madness. Or just being taken advantage of. Although then again, then you look at the... Not sure if it's a good example, but you look at the people who like support people like DSP and you ask yourself, how? How come? And then you just simply have to move on because there is no real good answer.
Well, sometimes there are people that are looking at something like that for spectacle. Because at the end of the day, it's all content. If they treat it as just its content, oh, I don't actually like this gay fat retard, I just like laughing at his misery, I guess separate yourself from those people because they're not there for things that you're interested in. Otherwise, you're going to have to play it by ear. Sometimes these people, they don't have good intentions, no matter what you do. And you have to understand the places that you're operating in and move accordingly to those places that you're operating in. Otherwise, it's going to be up to your response on whether or not you're doing what probably is smart for you and yours. Sometimes it's probably going to be less likely that you're doing something smart for you and yours. But again, you have to play it by ear and figure out where it is that you actually stand, and then address that as best as you can for the outcome that you have to actually plan for. Because the problem that I see a lot of the times when you're looking at these kinds of situations and polices and people and stuff that they're doing, the thing that you really have to account for is that they're not going to admit when they're wrong. The kinds of people that we're dealing with are not people that want to move in honesty, and they do not want to admit that they will make a mistake and will have done something wrong. Because the entire goal is to get you to crash out about something that may or may not be serious. So for what it accounts for, and for what it's worth, you have to address that accordingly every time. It's going to suck, because they're going to go out of their way to describe it as something that it's not. But you have to treat it like it is serious, because it is serious, and accept that this is the way that they're going to approach speaking on things, because that's where they've gotten to. That's where the end state for their context waits for them. It is only about the viewpoint that they're speaking to, not to the reality of the responsibility that they should have to all the other things that are happening based on their worldview. So, example, Minnesota. You've got what was laid out to us by Marcus is an open case of a lot of opportunity of fraud. If you want to extrapolate out in the view of everything, how does a person like Tim Walz be able to self-afford his campaign the way that he did? Is it because that the apparatus is corrupted and that he couldn't have known, and that the money came from Democrats that he was completely spurned by? Or was he in hand with the bed of the fraud because of what happened? There are multiple people that I've spoken to, and there's also the function apparatus that comes from being a part of a machine, or being a part of an engine that makes the thing possible. That the purpose of the engine and its function is what it does. That corruption didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen just because a bunch of Somalis figured out a way to gamify the system. Somebody has to be telling them and teaching them on how to do it. How far that corruption goes up the chain from the local to the Fed is the description of what you're really looking at when you're looking at that. We also have to understand that at the same time this happens, a YouTuber, because of this type of video, was able to destroy the career of somebody like Tim Walz. Whether we want to admit that's what happened in front of us or not, that's the actual reality that we're living in. He got dumpstered by that. He can't respond to that, Tim Walz. So he has to go down now swinging for effectively an ideology that has bankrupted him. He has a political dynasty that now no longer exists because this person took him to the fucking cleaners. That's crazy when you really think about it. But that's not how people are going to see it. They're going to see it as, oh, this YouTuber just made a clickbait video out of fraud. Meanwhile, days later, you've got a person that now throws their life away for this corruption. I don't know. She didn't treat it like it was a joke. She treated it like it was real. Somali migrants being treated unfairly in a place that they should have already ingrained themselves into the culture of and just became normal Minnesotan citizens. The math ain't mathin', Mathis. The math ain't mathin', Mathis. So as much as a person would want to complain about it, like, even while not being a political commentator, you should be able to look at the situation and say, bro, aren't you tired of living through events in your life? Aren't you tired of being a part of real-world examples of never-ending case, point, and proof of how bad it's gotten? Don't you want to see some justice be done? Don't you want to see some people do the right thing for once? I know I do. I know I do. But for some reason, they don't. They're okay with what is happening in front of them. It's cool. It's fun. It's interesting. It isn't disgusting. It isn't immoral. It isn't heartbreaking to them. The people that are supporting this idea, that are supporting this behavior, that want to see more of it done, that want to yuck it the fuck up and treat it like it's just a spectacle on social media and not actually the result of you having seen through the content that somebody lost their mother. Someone's lost their mother. And granted, that doesn't mean that she was Mother of the Year. That woman was abusive, if you actually look into it. Putting out cigarettes and beating the shit out of her kids to the point that she lost custody of 2 of them? Like, what world are we giving this person the position of a martyr for? That should be somebody who should be forgotten. But I'm a human. I don't forget people just because it's convenient. It's disgustingly bad. And is, again, demonstrative of where we currently are right now. Many people have not realized this is where we are right now. I remember feeling this way before Charlie Kirk, especially in the case of Aaron Bushnell, how a service member just immolates himself for fucking Reddit updates. Maybe he wasn't thinking that that's what he was immolating himself for, but the man he burned himself for Reddit updates, and no one talks about him. It's gonna be probably the same case with her. She'll have killed herself, and no one's gonna talk about her because it's inconvenient to the narrative. Because she's a kamikaze Karen. Right cause, wrong skin color.
No. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we've covered almost every single aspect of this conversation. But yeah, it's very sad to see, and yeah, it's very tiring to be a witness of the major historical event every single week now. Just hopefully it's not gonna turn into days, like every single day when you wake up, something historical is happening.
What can I do for you?
Oh well. It is what it is, right?
I mean, it is what people make of it. Normally, when we say it is what it is, it's like, man, you can't really change these people's minds. They feel this type of way. This is what it is, bro. It's just heckin' fascism, and we have to fight the Gestapo. And it's people being retarded that deserve to win their Darwin Award. But it only will stay this way if this is how a person chooses to actually engage with what has happened. You can only actually say it is what it is if you truly believe there is no way forward to actually address this for what it actually is worth. Because a human life should be worth conversation. People who live in the city should be discussing this at their chambers for the town hall concessions. There should be riots happening in the street, but not for somebody creating a Chaz 2.0. It should be the case that normal civilians and citizens say, why have you not addressed this? Why is this being made into a farce? Why are you allowing our city to be turned into a war zone politically? Why are you not calling for civil order? Why have you not broken up this fucking farce of a charade? And if you won't do this, how soon can we call for the special election so we can primary your ass and get people in here who will do the will of the city? Because regardless of the Ward 6 of Minneapolis basically being Somali town, ignoring the fact that the former Ward 6 special councilman became the head of the housing board, ignoring that moving to work housing is putting migrants in a place where they seemingly are just getting open beneficiary status from the government. The ground state situation has gotten bad enough that it has required a type of response, as a type of immune response to the behavior of the incoming parties. Again, crossing state lines. I don't think I've seen a single person mention that detail other than a couple of maybe fucking retards on Twitter. And I say retards belovedly. A couple of fucking chuds may have mentioned the fact that she and her lesbian partner came from out of state to try and involve themselves in Minneapolis politics. So why is it that local politicians are not pointing out this obvious case and saying, hey, you're not from around here. Why are you involved with this? Why did you do this? I should be seeing people go to jail for this. I should be seeing people getting detained for this so that they don't end up getting murdered because they thought it was a smart idea to go between a person giving a lawful command and someone who is committing to their job. If that happens in this way, where this doesn't get addressed like that, it should be pretty much the state that you'll probably have to call martial law in some way. Because that shouldn't happen. Not in public. And if it doesn't get handled on the state side, how much governmental overreach should be used by the current administration to address this problem, in so much that you can at least stop people from trying to copy her, to become a copycat martyr. These are serious questions and serious answers that have to be addressed. The only way it remains that it is what it is if we let this be this way. I don't think it has to be this way. I think we can learn from this. I think this should be something that demonstrates how none of this shit is a joke anymore. It's certainly not funny to me. I don't see how it's a fucking joke. Someone shouldn't have to lose their life for them to learn this goddamn lesson. We shouldn't see the destruction of a state basically destroy itself with governmental rot and overreach, that it ends not just one, but probably multiple careers of individuals that have appealed and appeased this. Because now we need to have an investigation into the numbers. Show me the politicians that were responsible for the monies going missing the way that it did. I want to see their names on receipts. I want proper investigations of that. No, I do not want a YouTuber to do it. But if a YouTuber has to do it, I'd like to see actual demonstrable case examples of this, and it not be just used in such a way that it kind of sounds like and kind of looks like it's a similar argument. Because I think if they can't show me those details, someone needs to have that head roll. Because that's definitely a factor in the situation. Because if it's being caused by fraud, alright, let's find out who's doing the fraud. If it's being caused by corruption, alright, let's find out who's corrupt. But all I've seen is the consequences of what happens when keeping it politically real goes horribly wrong. Next question.
But I think I don't have any more questions. I think I'm out. Well, thank you for your time. I'll be heading out. Take care, Carl.
Based. Love you, Dan. Meanwhile, next caller. Hello, you're on. Hello, you're on with the Chud.
I need more time.
Kind of had well, no, it's not related to the topic that was being discussed last time, but kind of had a bit of a snafu in another server, and it made me upset. But, you know, I didn't lash out at the person. It's just like, I was more upset at the double standard because, like there's times where I was petty, but I didn't, you know, call the guy out his name. I didn't insult his family. But, like, you know how people, they block you, then they, like, still react to your posts?
Uh-huh.
Meat creature.
Take your time. Catch your thoughts.
No, I was giving you like.
No, I answered yes.
I didn't hear it. Sorry. Like this whole beef I have, you know, I think I talked about the other artists I've had issues with.
Frequently.
The thing is, like, I left them alone for like months at a time. I didn't say anything to them. Then I noticed somebody that I haven't really recognized that's really active in the server. They said something about, they asked him, what are your influences? Like, do you have any real life influences? And he just gave off a bunch of like names from anime, and I'm like, that's not what he asked. But because I didn't say it the first time, I think I said something along the lines of like, that's puzzling. You know, after the guy asked him a question. And he took it as like me threatening him or something, and I'm like, I don't know how you got that from what I said, because I at that moment I didn't want to start anything with him because again, he always just like he blows up on people for like really immature reasons, and I know this is not. It's not. I'm not the only one that it's happened to.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of it makes me like it makes me irritated when this whole beef started because I posted emojis under his art, but he can give me all the eye roll reactions in the world. And the thing is, like, I don't say anything to him. It doesn't make me mad. It just makes me raise my eyebrow a little bit. But if I, do the same thing, they want to call the mods of me and saying I'm like being a bully, and I don't understand that.
Well, there are things in this life, Saf, that we won't understand, even in the moment or afterwards. In this situation, considering that this is not the first time you've discussed it, and I've absorbed enough information about it to remember, I think this person is used to being a victim. I think they're used to being the victim, or at least in this scenario, they're used to allowing people to just handle this for them in this way, where they're going to keep treating you like this. So you have really two choices at this point, because you've established it is not a misunderstanding. This is how they feel. You can choose to accept this and just silently observe the hypocrisy, or you effectively can end up crashing out about this and let this control a lot of how you choose to move forward and your behavior. Both of them have different outcomes, but they have the similar effect, where you're just going to accept that, okay, this is how this is, there's nothing I can do about this, and you move accordingly. Otherwise, they're going to put you in this position where they're going to make you feel like you can't trust your own mind. And that's obvious bullshit. But you are responsible for the buttons you press. You are responsible for the actions you take and make. You're not responsible for how they're behaving. You are responsible for how you're reacting to it.
I mean, I think basically what I said, if you're gonna like, I think I was more frustrated that he didn't answer that guy's question. So I had to say like, hey, he meant that he was asking for real life influences and he didn't bring up anime. And I tried to word it as politely as I could.
Well, for what it is worth, whether it be over something like the discussion of influences in art or not, you have to kind of just have to accept that they're gonna put themselves in that position, in that place, and they're gonna make you feel some type of way if you respond like that, even if you're trying to be helpful. So you just have to...
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't think I said things around Turner being rude to him at that point.
Yeah.
Another thing I woke up to was that, like, I received a message from somebody, and I think it was, like, might have been the same person that I was talking to, and I was like, what's this about? And then he told me that, like, he was saying a lot of stuff like how I'm like a problem person in the server because I basically don't worship him.
Just try it.
I mean, it confirms a lot of things, and it also just makes me. It kind of just makes me upset. but I'm not gonna really address it.
Oh. Okay.
Because like the screenshots he showed me, right? It's like the same stuff I think I showed other people. That like is because I didn't give him glowing praise of his artwork. That's why he considers me a problem.
Okay.
Like, I guess you might be right. Like he just wants to be the victim, but at the same time, it's like you want just constant praise and adulation from people that might not be truly honest with you, and it is like it's a hellish state to be in.
Yeah.
This poor man. There is little honor in such a death.
Go on.
Oh. Oh, okay.
No, continue with your thought.
Kinfolk seem. Now I see why.
I think he. I mean, I'm at a loss. I don't think I really know what else to do because he's going around telling like other new people that like I'm a problem person because I was the one being petty and then he does this. It just
Given his behavior, I would say that this is attributable of him effectively allowing himself to bait a trap and you setting off the hook. I think dwelling on it is going to only make things worse. Because the more energy you put into it, the more energy he gets out of you. So you just need to cut off the energy.
well, I think the only way I kind of tried to mitigate it is like if I'm interacting with other artists, I just like I tell them, hey, I like this. I think you did a good job on it. Like be genuine rather than just like giving heart emojis all day and not really saying anything. I usually explain this is what I like about the piece. And I try my best to compliment their skills on it.
Mm-hmm. I think you should keep doing that. And do not let other things like this stop you from doing that. And do not let...
I mean, it's not...
And do not let this demotivate you from continuing to do what it is you're setting out to do. Because that would be the worst outcome. You don't want to start pulling yourself away because of the behavior antics of these people, and you give them the ability to stop you from doing what it is you set out to do, which is to encourage other people. Because really what you want at the end of the day is you want people to have fun making art, right?
Yeah, I want people that actually have fun and enjoy doing art, putting their passion into it. But it's kind of sad that, like, the current landscape of things, it's like, it starts to get to the point where it's very rooted in clout chasing, and I don't exactly agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hot take, I know people, need exposure, but how people market themselves sometimes, like, tends to brush me the wrong way.
Okay.
You can go ahead, Carl.
Well, I don't want to say that it's circling the drain, but I would say that the concern that you have is a little bit of something that does circle the drain. You cannot control other people. You can only control yourself. So,
Yeah, that's true.
So, the thing that I think you should do is that you should take control of the situation, put the power back in your hands, and do not let this consume you. Do not let this consume you in this way, where you are deeply, deeply affected because of this happening. As I feel like that is really one of the important points that adds a little bit of the conflux of the deeper problem at the end of the day. Because a lot of that is going to decide how you look at these situations moving forward. It is the case that they're going to be aggressively frustrating to look at, right? But the more that you look at them like this, the more that it's going to frustrate you. Now, for that individual male, this is how you should proceed. To all the other undecided people, you can choose to offer to explain to them what is actually going on. To which I would hope you have been keeping notes, and that you have evidence. Physical, provable evidence on hand that shows that you are not, in fact, a crazy person.
And yes, I have some, so, like the ones that he gave me, I remember from, it was like years ago, and, yeah, I remember one of the things that they sent was like me saying Linkle real, and I wasn't trying to tease him in any way.
Well, then you give that to those people that would be a part of the undecided party. And when they ask you what exactly is the guy's problem or what they have a problem with you for, you just let them know, listen, I don't have any ill will against the guy, but whatever he's told you, that doesn't really reflect the truth of what it is that I'm dealing with between themselves and myself. You give them that detail, and then you let it be.
I'll keep that in mind. Another thing is just that, like, even though he, like, because here's the thing. There's people who are in the server who act petty towards me, and I don't get upset, really, and I don't call the moderation team or anything like that. I kind of just shrug my shoulders, move on. Like, for me, it's just, like, the least inconsequential thing to get angry about. Because, like, even though right now the situation makes me upset, I'll get over it. I'll, they'll do something else for a minute. And I'll probably, talk to one of my close friends about it. And see, like, a way that we can work it out.
Well, that's half the steps. You're about halfway there, I'd say. I can't recall exactly the date that you first brought this to me, but having listened to you talk about this, these are the steps forward that I want you to do, as well as I want you to go do some shadow work about it. So start keeping a journal and take account of when you can feel yourself getting annoyed and vexed by these antics happening around you. Because if you put it in a journal, it's going to make it seem more physically real to you. Especially if what you want is to see perpetual results. Because I'm a firm believer of that type of result pattern, I think that would work best for you. Having physical material to sit down and reflect back on.
Okay.
Alright?
Alright.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
Ooh. I mean, other than the whole like, I wanted to do like I think I talked about it before briefly, which is a while. It was like doing that gaming thing. Yeah, we were in video games, but like
The
that
craftsmanship,
stuff like that
it's
just makes
exceptional.
me shocked how kind of out of touch people can be about that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the people who probably don't know or either don't remember that, like, yes, there was a time where video games were considered mostly to be a masculine oriented thing, but I think that started to shift around, like I want to say the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yes, it's shifting around in the late 80s to early 20s. You want to do a gaming thing. What gaming thing do you want to do?
No, 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 it's not the gaming thing. It's just like it's more like I didn't really get the whole being excluded because I'm a woman incident.
Okay.
It's if anything I've experienced or witnessed like the weird pecking order that women do where it's like it's not acceptable to be into this thing. If you like this thing, you're obviously doing it for, you know, the intention of other boys, and that's weird.
Mm-hmm. And how ultimately does that make you feel?
I mean, to me, it feels rather hypocritical because I think you mentioned it where it's like you know some of these girls they see this video game stuff as a way to like break their toys or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and just basically make others really unhappy. It really shouldn't be like that.
And how do you feel like it should move forward and proceed from
I
where you
think
feel like right now?
I think more people should actually listen to women who actively do play video games because I think the perception that they have is like very and twisted and not often rooted in reality.
Welcome. Hail.
What kinds of
Invisible
games?
offerings.
Oh,
Any specific genres come to your mind?
I
I
mean,
think I can find a
it
buyer
can
for
be
that.
said for like console games and like PC games, but like, and again, I know like everybody has had a different experience, but um, growing up, I just noticed like a lot of like women were into like arcade games and some older consoles, and I got into it because of my grandmother.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good day.
Like it could be like what's one that's off the I'm trying to think. So there's other I don't want to just bring up just like Nintendo. My older cousins into like a lot of Sega stuff. Like they also like Grand Theft Auto and what is it? We played a fair amount of like sports games, I remember.
Survive.
But I think the key thing I remember is that they picked games based on things that they were interested in, not to like kind of stick it to boys.
Yes.
And how much would you say that is the current conversation had in most content? That it's people deciding that they would rather perpetuate an argument against people for that.
I don't
All
think
right.
it's really
Your order
brought up
is
that much,
registered.
to be honest, because I feel like people don't really gauge what women are actually really interested in, because even if you like the traditional quote unquote male games, they obviously like it for like very strange alternative reasons, and not because they actually like the game or gameplay.
Mm-hmm. And so you think that because there's no specific genre that they should be investing themselves into to find this out, that they just need to go explore.
Yeah, just like, you know, find out what games that actually like. It doesn't have to be the thing that's popular at the moment. It could just be. Oh, this is um, it could just be like, what kind of game do I actually want to play? I mean, because
I'll do what I can
my
to
experience, I
satisfy you.
found a lot of games through like kind of sifting through YouTube and like the like exploring like certain game consoles I didn't have like a lot of experience with, because I didn't have a PlayStation. I didn't really like PlayStation when I was little, so I was looking for other PlayStation games that I didn't play, that wasn't on a demo disc.
Uh-huh. Okay. I'm trying to work you towards like a conclusive statement here. So you want people to play more games. You want people to go discover more games. You don't have a specific genre you want them to go discover. You want them to just find out what they like, and then what?
Maybe like actually either bring awareness to it, because I don't know if you've heard this channel called Loop, where he
Something exciting's gonna
plays
happen,
all these
isn't it?
different games and he explains like all the pros and cons that he likes about it. It doesn't even have to be a video. You can just, you know, write like a small summary about it, or like explain it in like a speech or something like that. Because if you really, really, really like the game, you would talk about it. Like you would talk about how much you really, really enjoy it, rather than just like say you like something but then you don't actually engage with it.
You're talking about my argument from when I was dealing with Irrelevant.
Kind of, but this is something I've also dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Well, my argument for people like Relevant is that that's the difference of name-checking tourism versus actual appreciation of their content. I don't believe that it is possible that you can engage in content off of camera and you not have it come through in your medium and into your content in some particular form, shape, way, and fashion. Having done the research, assuming that you were there, you saw me investigate his origins and his source. Effectively, he abdicated all responsibility for his investment of what he chooses to consume in the marketplace to instead say that any problems that happen to the industry is just capitalism and Jews. And effectively, I don't have to play games on camera because I do political content. Yet, anytime he talks about games not being dead and it not being the fault of women and feminism or whatever fucking resource you want to use to blame it, he name checks games, but he doesn't seem to actually discuss his time and his experience in it and the fun he had playing them. Just, here's a game, this means the game industry isn't dead. What part of that particular argument are you pulling on from what you experienced yourself personally? Oh.
I wasn't there for all of it. I apologize, but like I try to understand the gist of it. There was something I did go back and watch, but yeah, I don't understand people like that, to be honest.
Well, he doesn't want to be understood. I want to be understood. But you'd probably hear two different camps, which is, well, you don't even know what it is that you're asking for, versus you don't know who to be angry at. No, I know exactly who to be angry at, because I actually did the fucking work. The industry is full of people like Irrelevant, because there's three factors. Either they don't understand what's happening, and they are effectively incapable of actually working in the marketplace, because they don't actually have an understanding of what's happening. It's very similar to politics. You cannot stand still on a moving train. Therefore, you must investigate the actual source of what it is you want to support. And you should do so in the way that I kept telling them that I do, but they kept saying that I didn't. Which is, you need to investigate the people that are making the content, you need to investigate what they developed, you need to investigate how they developed it, you need to investigate their root inspirations, you need to investigate how those root inspirations are affecting the medium, whether or not they came from a place of politics or they came from a place of passion, and maybe sometimes a both, and then show the final result product of what came from that influence. Thus, by understanding that, you're able to successfully say that you are, in fact, a person who engages in the marketplace and the business while consuming the product. Otherwise, he either, two, knows that it's happening and doesn't care, or he knows that it's happening and it is his job to make people feel that any kind of description and layout of exactly that issue is not applicable because he wants it to keep happening. He would like for that kind of contagion and rot to continue to proliferate the business because he supports the ideals, he supports the ideologies behind them, he supports the people that have those ideals in the places they came from, can't address a single person's name, it's all just a business, it's not an individual, it's not a person, it's not a group, it's not a company. And if you say so, they're going to call you a chud and say you don't know what you're talking about. That kind of person doesn't want to be understood. He's playing for the home team. To say that Wick's audience would be quote the home team would be true because it's Destiny runoff. So you could say that the entirety of the people on that panel don't want to be understood. They just want to have a go at the guy that they decided is the new target to have for 2 minutes of hate. So in that group, whether or not they're convinced of it, that really doesn't matter. It matters to me that you are convinced of it. So like I said earlier to Bolster, being in that situation allows any person who's not of that kind of mentality to see what's actually going on here and how this moves and how this operates. And to the point that I was making, that is a demonstrable example of exactly why a space and a scene has to be upkept by the people who are occupying it. They believe that there is no reason for them to upkeep it. It's just the economy, man, so they can behave as badly as they want to. So I imagine something that you're trying to communicate here is you don't have to join this type of circle and group just because it's the new hotness on the street. You should actually go to the places that don't behave like that, even if they also are like him and I, people who engage in the same game. But he clearly doesn't engage in the community that I do. And I'm not speaking of just here. I mean the entirety of the thing that he pays his money into. If he pays money into Path of Exile and grinding your games the same way that I do, and he enjoys the game, air quote, enjoys the game the same way that I do, he clearly is not in the player-based community of something like the creators that created the Second Wind Private League. He's not invested in that. He's asynchromatically engaging in commerce, where he is beholden to only the authority of himself and the people around him, but with absolutely no affinity to the groups that he attaches himself to, other than on the surface level. right?
Yeah.
So you want people to see that and say, you don't have to do that. Go this other way and go discover it yourself and see if you can find a place and a space that you can fit into. Or maybe even make your own and invite people into it. But also gatekeep it.
Yeah. I say this for a lot of things, actually.
Okay. Elaborate.
I have a hot take when it comes to art. I think I may have explained this at one point. I do think art as a medium needs to be gatekept by people who are actually passionate about what they're doing. Because, like, you know, like, I may not be the fondest person of Pedro Pascal, but he asked the question of, like, Neil Druckmann, do you actually like art? Because you'd be surprised the amount of people who want to get into art, they don't like it. They have no passion for it. They don't have the vision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm taking time to think, but it's like when you do art, sometimes you do have to get your hands dirty. I mean, even if it's like physical, like if you're working with paint or if you're working with digital, you gotta get your hands dirty. Not in a like CD way. I mean, like what you put on your canvas is not always going to be perfect the first time. Sometimes you might have to redraw it. Sometimes you might have to get a new brush, get a new pencil, get the right color. But what happens, I think what's indicative of what we're doing now with AI, we just want it to happen like that. There's no feeling in that stuff when you generate a picture.
Yes, and I did.
Like, and you technically don't even own the image. Somebody else can take it and generate another set of pictures on top of that also.
Everything I know not for me.
We'll do our best.
Excuse me. Oh,
That's what I
go.
Okay. Hold on, let me turn your sound so I can make sure I can hear you clearly. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. But like, I think also, I'll sound kind of crazy to me, but like, I think people should be able to like sketch like the same type of picture, on like say on a physical notepad and on the digital like tablet that they're using. Because there's one thing that's kind of intrigued me about what's going on in Japan right now, because they're having their own AI art crisis, is that like they're telling people like if you want to apply to be an artist, you have to bring a notepad and draw in front of the person. And I'm just sitting here like, who haven't adopted this already?
So you don't think that they should be doing that?
I think they should be. Like every art institution, any like illustrator, they should be doing that en masse. They should have been doing that en masse, because the amount of like art theft that happens, even with like if you're making a concept sketch, that stuff can be stolen and somebody could say, I did that. That person didn't do anything.
Okay. So art institutions should be putting people on the spot and forcing them to actually draw concepts as a result of... No? That's not what they should do?
No, I mean, I agree with you, Carl. I mean, that's basically what I'm saying.
And that's in the hopes of preventing art theft.
Well, not just art theft, it's just like this kind of test people to see if they can actually back up what they're doing, because there's also people who, of course, they plagiarize and they trace over others' work. So it's like a really multi-layered issue that I have with art, that with a lot of stuff that's gone on for far too long. Like, because of like beauty and art being so normalized. A lot of stuff on that site went on unchecked for a very long time, to the point where you don't really own the image that you upload on there. Somebody else can take it and claim it as theirs. And I don't know if you remember, it was kind of a big deal on Tumblr where, like, I think Disney stole somebody's art design and they put it on a shirt in Hot Topic. And of course, the person who originally made it, they were upset with this. But then, like, I think DeviantArt like shows the fine print where it's like, "Oh, sorry, you don't own this. Anybody can take it."
Mm-hmm. And that was what started everybody doing the trend of getting bots to basically try and claim the work for Disney's because of how heavily litigious they are. Right?
So this was like well over 10 years ago, before the advent of like AI generation. Like, this was like a regular thing that was happening even amongst other people when they would draw characters. Like, this is my character, but then somebody else can say, "No, this is actually my character. I drew it. I painted." But it was happening at a small scale, but then it became bigger and bigger and out of control. And I think that event caused like a lot of people to like pretty much splinter, go to Tumblr, then you know the story. That place became a hellhole. Mm-hmm. And then they went to Twitter and they were like, "Oh, we can actually promote ourselves more on Twitter. This is amazing." And then that also became another hellhole. And now you have blue skies and you can't really promote anything that they don't like. So anything anime that you want to draw, can't have that. That's weird.
Whatever this fuels, it won't be good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I definitely agree that it's hard to promote. Especially even on places like X. Sometimes even in the use of the tools that we're using, because it's just actually impossible to have a proper human response to some posts sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like before it got bought out. I think a lot of people viewed it as better networking at that point. But the current landscape obviously makes it very, very difficult. Because again, not real people. And whatever people are doing with Rocky, I don't know if I can even really talk about that.
No consequence. I demand adherence.
Okay. So you want people to learn by trial of fire. You want them to be tested. You want them to prove that they can draw what they draw. Because of that nature of people just taking people's shit. Willy fucking nilly. And you want them to experience new camaraderie with other people that are like-minded. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but is that like too wild? Is that too crazy?
I don't think that's too wild or too crazy of a concept. I just feel like you might really are maybe taking a very long way of arriving at that conclusion. Or maybe that's just me. Perhaps I'm able to extrapolate it better because I've listened to you talk about it. Oh, do you feel like you would be able to, that you would be able to communicate that without me, summarizing for you?
If I can, like, be able to, like, type it out and my thoughts into it, maybe, sure. But basically what I'm saying is not too far off from what I learned in, like, either art school or working with other artists. Because, like, you know, when you're when you have to paint something, you have to show them like what are you gonna put on the canvas, and sometimes you have to draw a smaller version of it.
Okay. I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Nothing wrong with that. Just wanting to make sure you know your own mind. That's all. And that you're communicating as well as effectively as you possibly could. The irony is not lost on me, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you'd like to discuss?
Need mana.
Oh.
Strange.
Not much comes to mind right now, but I think I've got out what I need to say. In regards to the earlier situation, I'll try my best to get through it.
Okay. All I can ask you to do is your best. So if you have nothing else to say, I guess I'll see you next time.
Okay.
Back. Okay. So the only other advice I could probably give you specific to Saffronet is write it down. Write it down. Say it with me now. Write
it down. Okay.
Yes. Google is free. So is other forms of WordPress programs. Write it in a document. Okay, love you, bye. Next caller. Hello, homosexual. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm alive with the sound of nigrosity.
Seems about right.
What can I do you for today? And no, I cannot do some top.
Not that I was gonna ask.
Listen. I have been traumatized by Interview with the Vampire, okay? The statement, "do me some face," has catastrophically destroyed my brain cells.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. So that
Television
has
show.
completely passed my mind. Shit.
It wasn't in the movie, it was in the television show.
Oh, okay.
It was probably
it's
a show that was made for you and your generation, and you don't behave that way, so you probably ignored it. But myself and Jay Longbone have gotten an eye full of it. It's horrible. Don't watch it.
Well, yeah, it's made for women.
The word she used was fag hags, but yes, it was in fact made for women.
Yes. Well, definitely a lot going on in the world, especially after the one ice shooting.
How do you feel about how she is currently resting in ice power?
I think there's definitely an element of fuck around and find out, usually present whenever you deal with cops or even with federal agencies. However, I think this is mostly a failing on the Trump administration for sending their ICE agents into a meat grinder, basically.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
They're ill-prepared, I think. The guy that shot himself might have been well-trained, like previously, but I don't know what kind of training tells you, yeah, you should box off the vehicle with your own body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kind of are just putting yourself in harm's way if the only thing you're doing to block out the vehicle is your own body. Like, didn't anyone teach these guys how to box out the vehicle with other vehicles to carry out a felony stop?
Yeah, I do find it interesting that there's not a lot of people that are describing and who are criticizing the way that they chose to go about trying to address them at the stop point. It seems to just be the case that, oh no, they should just let her roll through, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that, and it's like, maybe she shouldn't have tried to resist a lawful operation. And also, they can be bad for how they went to go about something that should have been proof positive, completely normal for them to handle.
Well, I think the issue is it's not normal for them to handle their ICE. They're meant to be dealing with illegal citizens rather than trying to effect an arrest in the middle of the fucking road.
I think it's possible that you can have a law official be able to do both, but of course, if it's outside of their purview, why didn't they coordinate with local law enforcement to make sure this shit went off without a hitch? And I'm certain we're going to have plenty of people who will have the similar take. And the takeaway really is that the law enforcement officers probably didn't want to do anything about it. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just speculating on the top of my head, because when we discussed this with a local Minnesotan, that happens to be one of my moderators, and he walked through exactly the turmoil of how these things working out in the state, it seems to be the case that either the local law enforcement as well as the local government officials are aware of how they do behavior like this, and that it's not a deal to them, so they're not going to do anything about it, or it is the case that they don't feel any type of way about it, so they just allow this to happen, whether or not it's a good outcome for any of the people in the state, period.
Entirely possible.
I think...
from what I've gathered, it's mostly because, A, the Minnesota is, or Minneapolis itself, I believe, is a sanctuary city, or I think Minneapolis is, or Minnesota is a sanctuary state. I don't recall which of the two. But I know that Minnesota itself is a little more sympathetic to many of the immigrants, whether illegal or legal. Though I'm not sure about the numbers of actual illegal immigrants in Minnesota. But also it's a combo of that and the Trump administration just generally overstepping its powers.
Mm-hmm. I think it can easily be said that Trump could be doing more. And I think it's probably a good grace that he's not, because I feel if he was doing more, it's possible that he could have been fucking it up so badly that it's worse than it currently is right now. I don't know how much worse you can get than women dying for this, but I would rather not find out. I think that's where I am right now. I'd rather not find out how much worse this could get and should have gotten.
Yeah. So I think it says something that they don't have the support of the state or the local law enforcement. It could say that either the state itself is just being insubordinate to the Trump administration, or the Trump administration, like I said, is just overstepping its bounds. And like I said earlier, just pumping these people straight into the meat grinder. Like, we had like 2 shootings last year. Not many, but still, it's interesting that we had 2 shootings happen, even if one of them didn't have even one ICE casualty, just a couple of detainees were killed.
Mm-hmm.
This Shipocado has much to answer for.
Though from the looks of things, it's probably gonna win.
I shall end you. Strategic perversion.
What do you think could have been done differently that could have prevented her from losing her life in this situation?
They could have gotten local law enforcement involved to actually remove her.
Okay.
Other than that, from what I saw of the beginning of the actual original clip, it looked like she was trying to get them to pass before before the other 2 people in the truck came out to get her out of the vehicle.
A blood medallion.
So they could have just
Know anything
passed.
about those? Ah, yes. This will come in handy for exploring the temple further. Let's see what we can do with it back at the
I
college.
think I can agree with that. It's just common sense.
It's exceptional.
Yeah. But now that's another question. Are we sure these guys are operating off common sense, or are they being a little too gung-ho? I think them getting out of the car and trying to effect a felony arrest on a woman in a vehicle is proof of that. Because I'm a veteran, I've known a lot of veterans. All of us were like, what the fuck is this guy doing in front of the car?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of my training in any detainment or arrest scenario, when I had to take it in Marine combat training, just told me, at every point you should have control of the situation. And right there, that's not control of the situation. That's just waiting for a shit show to happen. And if Trump is just gonna pump more agents into the vicinity and not actually address the training need in here, it's almost like he's just waiting for this to get worse.
Yeah, I can agree with that outcome. Because on one hand, if it's that bad that you have this kind of corruption and violence and attention being brought to the state, why is it that you are treating this like it's a full-scale invasion of another territory and not treating it like uncivil arrests that should be met with an appropriate amount of troop numbers? They should not be having so many people in there in the first place, number one. Number two, if they're being improperly trained, get them properly trained. There's no excuse for this.
Yeah, this isn't Afghanistan. This isn't some third world shithole. This is America. We don't do door-to-door raiding just because we can. But that seems to be the level that we're operating with ICE, and I think it's quite disgusting, honestly.
Yes. No, if they are able to address this in such a way that they can achieve this without the steps that it appears that they have taken, then let them achieve this with the steps that they have taken. So, if they're going to go the route of treating people like they are second-class citizens in the state that they live in, and it is not the case that we are dealing with people who are in fact illegal immigrants, but instead are just fraudsters of the highest degree, you don't need ICE for that.
Yeah, you send the IRS.
Yes, you send the IRS and you send local law enforcement to investigate the businesses.
Yeah. Also, it's just my opinion that if you truly want to get into like the root of the issue of illegal immigrants taking American jobs, you send the IRS to bust the businesses that are hiring all of these fucking illegals. Then they get ICE involved and detain all those people. But no, this isn't what we're going for. We're going for max effort.
Maximum effort police state?
Yeah, it seems that's what we're headed for.
Sold it.
Though that might seem hyperbolic, but it's not looking good.
Someone is bound to buy that.
I think it is very easy for us to come away with that conclusion because it just feels like that is what we're looking at half the time. It feels a little bit like it is some very regrettable bad shot cause and policy that has the state looking real fucking rough. And the only way to properly address that is to really address the fact of why it feels like it's really fucking rough.
Seems like a good deal.
I don't think the admin can really get to that answer, because that involves steps and operations that feel like they fall outside of his purview right now. Like, they don't have the answers to these situations, and we should move forward as though they are not going to prepare themselves with answers for these situations. Because if they had the answers to the situation, they would have solved the situation prior. Maybe they're
malice, but I think they don't want to. That's the issue.
Yeah. if they're feeling around the issue and are hoping that it just kind of goes away on its own, I don't think that shit's going away, dog.
Yeah, but they're not. They're immediately it was she's a domestic terrorist, and we are going to send more ICE agents. And especially the reaction from a lot of the broad, like far right or just the belligerent right that's out in the streets is, yeah, we executed one of these that day, and we're gonna do it again.
I think that's too far. I think that's definitely way too far. Especially if they're doing so as like a game of political football. I again remind people that it's not a game of political football, this is your life. And as much as I can say fuck around with enforcement and find out, you should not be attempting to play sports ball with people's lives like it's points on a scoreboard.
Yeah. So if it was political football, I could say, hey, what about Ashley Babbitt? She fucked around and found out, didn't she?
I guess that just triggers a constant back and forth question of, like, concerned policing and whataboutism, where the best faith that you could give is that both of these women should not have lost their life. She should not have lost her life by going to the Capitol, and there being a person that thought she was trying to breach that room. In this case, this is somebody who was clearly, from all the angles we now have, including the body cam, she was not in fear of her life until the moment she realized that keeping it real was going horribly wrong. Like, she was happy to be there and be along with the process up until the point that it cost her life. I know I'm not the only person that has this take, but I think that's the most cognizant take you can probably make about her behavior based on how she was moving.
I don't really agree. I would say the difference between the two would be that Ashley Babbitt was making a conscious effort to get into an area that she was not supposed to be in, and was given multiple warnings not to get in, and then ultimately got what was coming to her.
Mm-hmm.
And the ICE agents were just poorly trained, and because of their poor training or their poor reaction to a situation, they got a woman killed.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about the people that are going out and trying to dox this agent?
I don't think you should. That's bad.
What about any agent?
Unless they actually carried out a heinous act, probably not. I wouldn't cry for them if they actually did carry out a heinous act and got doxxed, but I would still be like, probably not best.
How about law enforcement officers?
Same answer. Generally the same.
I would.
It kind of just, it's generally all the same. I would prefer people don't get doxxed. If there's someone that did do a very heinous act and it's not being addressed, then I guess all bets are off. I can't really speak up against it.
Mm-hmm. I would. Excuse me. All this fucking phlegm. I would like to say that it is already the case that a law enforcement officer's name and badge number is public, but there's a clear difference between this person who is committing an action that deals with narcos and immigration issues and human trafficking, as well as your welcome beat cop that's helping kids across the street. There's a clear difference between these things, but why am I seeing people trying to find out if he has a mail-order bride? Who he immigrated to the country legally. Through no legal loopholes.
That's weird.
I agree, that is definitely weird. 1 second.
It's generally so confusing to me when people focus on stupid things like that, especially with Vance himself. Like, I don't like Vance. I don't care that he has an Indian wife or anything like that. But to a lot of lefties and maybe to a lot of righties, that seems to be a point of contention. That supposedly he's some white nationalist or whatever, but he has an immigrant wife.
Well,
or like any of these. But then again, you never ask a racist what the race of his wife is.
Exactly. You know, it's like white supremacy, and we have the most on-the-ball vice president, probably member of the administration we've ever had in this super connected social media age. And we're looking at people who go way beyond the pale to discuss things that aren't a matter of the civil issue at hand, because the actual discussion can't be treated bipartisan. Because if it gets treated bipartisan, then the political game is over. Like, the inside boys and girls that make money off this political football can't make money off the political football if you're not playing this game.
Yeah, no, gotta be sensationalist.
I think, especially
You got.
I think especially in the case of people calling for the heads of that IS officer, from the position in which we saw the cameras, even before we got the body cam footage, it was very obvious that it was a very simple shoot. Because we've seen too many examples of a person who has been run over by somebody who used their vehicle as a deadly weapon.
Well, yeah, I'll grant you that, including the officer himself, who actually was in a situation where he got dragged by a vehicle and got pretty hurt.
Do you
So
feel?
it's funny it happened twice.
Do you feel like there needs to be a step in the direction of Starship Troopers, that it needs to start becoming that people can only choose to be involved in politics if they actually put themselves in a military position? Maybe it'll make more sense if people actually see the danger for themselves, if they've actually been through danger training, so that everybody doesn't become an instant deadly force official as well as an instant expert in geopolitical fallout every 2 to 5 weeks.
Generally, so I think I think there's some contention in there, simply that I think even the author himself had some contentions with exactly how he was gonna go about describing this type of society, including whether it was military service necessary, like in a combat role, or if it's just service to the state, like to the Federation. Because if you serve still in an administrative role, I think you can also still get the citizenship. Well, excuse me, English is hard right now. But otherwise, generally, I agree.
Okay. Is there anything else that you feel particularly strong about that you want to discuss? Yes, no, maybe so. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Sorry, thank you.
Come here!
I feel very strongly about trans women. There are not enough of them in my DM. It's late. Other than that, no. But thanks for having me.
No problem, dude. No problem.
Peace.
Not enough trans women. Snapchat me that Princess Wand if it's cool. Based. Anything else? Anything else? No? Turn to the audience. Is there anyone who has an opinion that feel like they want spoken on? I can see that Exo Crusher is in the same position that I'm in, which is people calling for insurrection and a civil war that are not ready to pick up a weapon and lay it down. I think people do this shit for attention. I think people do this shit for clout. I think they do this shit because they're bored. It does not feel to me like the particular interested parties were truly taking full stock of what is important to address, and that it is being waylaid to someone else's fault and responsibility rather than our collective Acknowledgement. Interesting. This doesn't take leech. And neither is this one. I also do think that if they do truly believe that the country's full of Gestapos, there's really only one proper response to have for that for the Empire. Also, in the middle of the call, I was being corrected by Bloomer that he's setting it for 4 p.m. PST, not EST. So, rather than 4 p.m., it's happening at 7 p.m. Small correction. Small correction. Small correction. So if nobody has anything else to say, no other questions asked, I think I'm going to end it for there. So I can have all my ducks in a row, so that when the time comes, we can come on. So, let me push the button. I mean, every person blocking ice is performative. I mean, kind of goes without saying, no, Fatal. But, just in case there's no one else that has anything to say, and they have nothing want to add on, I'm going to press the button for now. And I will see you all next time. Same Carl time, same Carl channel. And I'll be seeing you all later today at 7 p.m., not 4 p.m. Pew.